Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Nigerians, welcome back once again to the channel. Today's discussion is one that is already generating massive reactions across Nigeria because former President Olusegun Obasanjo has come out strongly against the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over the worsening economic situation in the country. This is not just an ordinary criticism. This is coming from a former Nigerian president who once managed the affairs of this country and who believes the current economic hardship Nigerians are facing could have been handled differently. In the interview you are about to watch, Obasanjo did not hold back his words. He openly accused the Tinubu administration of badly handling the economy. He questioned the timing and implementation of fuel subsidy removal. He also spoke about borrowing, debt servicing, inflation, and the hardship millions of Nigerians are battling every single day. Now remember, fuel subsidy removal remains one of the most controversial decisions taken by the Tinubu administration since assuming office. While the government maintains that subsidy removal was necessary to save the economy and stop corruption in the oil sector, many Nigerians argue that the sudden implementation without adequate preparation has worsened poverty and suffering. Transportation costs have skyrocketed. Food prices have gone beyond the reach of ordinary citizens. Electricity tariffs have increased. The naira has weakened seriously. Businesses are struggling to survive. And many families can barely feed themselves. And now, former President Obasanjo is asking serious questions. He believes the government acted with poor timing. According to him, removing subsidy without first putting structures in place to cushion the suffering of Nigerians was a major mistake. He also questioned the continuous borrowing by the federal government despite the increasing debt burden already facing the country. Obasanjo further stated that during his own administration, the economy was managed more responsibly. He suggested that there was better planning, better coordination, and stronger economic discipline during his tenure as president. Now, whether you agree with him or not, one thing is certain. When a former president speaks on issues affecting the nation, Nigerians will listen. And that is why this interview is very important. Because beyond politics, Nigerians are more concerned about survival. People want answers. They want to know why life has become extremely difficult, despite promises of renewed hope. So in a moment, I will allow you to watch the interview yourself so you can hear directly from former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Listen carefully to the points he raised because this conversation touches every Nigerian household.
To me, it's so ridiculous, without due respect, because running the affairs of a country is like running your own affair. If you have to earn money and you have to borrow money to eat, because you are using the money you earn to pay debt, then something is wrong in your life. And the same thing, if we are earning and we are spending 95% of our earning to service debt, then something is basically wrong. And you have to sit down and say, hey, what is wrong? Now, when I came into government, we were paying $3.5 billion to service our debt, and the quantum of debt was not going down. Now, and I said, look, now this cannot continue. There's something basically wrong here. And then I went around. And when I made my case, people say, okay, look, you have a case, but we expect something from you. And what do they expect from me? They expect reform. And I keep telling them, look, reform that's one thing that is normal in life. You are looking at your life, even as a person, as a family, you are looking at your life. What do you need to do differently? What adjustment do you need to make? And that is the way, even more so for a government. Now, you have to reform. Look, you come in as a government that is deep in debt, and then you are spending money like a drunken sailor. So what do you expect? So the question you asked me,
I mean, it's obviously a cliche question in the sense that I don't think that
I find this almost in most African countries. They take it. You take debt. The first thing, or one of the first thing I learned in life, he who goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. And where is that? And then, and when you get this money, the amount of money that was left in reserve and in what we call
excess crude account,
excess crude account, excess crude account went beyond 30 billion. After I have left, it was about 25 billion before I left. Reserve went up to 60 billion. It was about 45 billion before I left. Now where is it? What did we do with it? And now people said our debt is 90 something billion within a space of how many years?
The other issue that's become a big topic in the Nigerian spectrum is the issue of revenue. Nigeria is currently doing 1.6 million barrels, according to President Tinubu's recent speech, which he did a couple of days ago, which the allocation is supposed to be 3 million barrels. What are the key reforms that you think that needs to happen to get to Nigeria to be optimal in terms of being able to, part of resolving the issues, obviously?
You call the major oil companies. You call them. And look, what do we need to do? That's what I did when I was there. Anything, look, come and let us talk. And as one of them said to me after I left government, and he said, look, we didn't always get what we wanted with you, but we know we will get a decision. Because I called them, look, what is your problem? This is my problem. And we talk.
That was former President Olusegun Obasanjo speaking extensively about the economy, the fuel subsidy removal, borrowing, and the current hardship in Nigeria. And honestly speaking, the interview raises several important issues that deserve proper analysis. First of all, let us talk about the issue of fuel subsidy removal, because that seems to be at the center of Obasanjo's criticism. Many economists actually agree that fuel subsidy itself was unsustainable. For years, Nigeria spent trillions of naira subsidizing petrol. Different administrations complained about corruption in the subsidy system. So removing subsidy was not necessarily the problem. The real issue has always been implementation. And this is where many critics, including Obasanjo, believe the Tinubu administration got it wrong. When subsidy was removed almost immediately after Tinubu assumed office, Nigerians expected immediate relief measures. People expected improved transportation systems, support for small businesses, stable electricity, and social welfare programs. But what happened instead? Fuel prices jumped massively, transportation fares increased overnight, food prices exploded because transportation affects everything in Nigeria. Farmers now spend more transporting goods, traders increase prices, manufacturers increase production costs, and ordinary Nigerians became the final victims. Today, many families that used to eat 3 times daily now struggle to eat twice. The middle class is gradually disappearing, and unemployment remains a serious concern. So when Obasanjo says the timing was poor, many Nigerians can actually relate to that statement because the suffering came too suddenly and too heavily. Now, another issue Obasanjo raised is borrowing. Nigeria's debt profile has continued to rise over the years. The government argues that borrowing is necessary to finance infrastructure and stabilize the economy. But critics are asking, where are the visible results? Nigerians are worried because a large percentage of government revenue now goes into debt servicing. That means huge amounts of money are being used just to pay back loans and interest instead of developing healthcare, education, power supply, and job creation. Obasanjo appears worried that Nigeria may be entering a dangerous economic situation where future generations will inherit unbearable debt burdens. And honestly, this concern is not entirely new. Several economists and financial experts have repeatedly warned about excessive borrowing without corresponding economic productivity. If loans are taken and invested properly into productive sectors, the economy can grow. But if borrowing continues while inflation rises and living conditions worsen, people will naturally begin to question government policies. Now, let us also examine Obasanjo's claim that he managed the economy better during his own tenure. This is where opinions may differ. Supporters of Obasanjo will argue that during his administration, Nigeria experienced debt relief, foreign reserves improved, and economic reforms strengthened the banking sector. They will also point to relatively stable fuel prices and stronger purchasing power compared to today. However, critics of Obasanjo may also remind Nigerians that every administration has its own challenges. Some will argue that problems facing Nigeria today did not start overnight. Issues like corruption, dependence on oil, weak institutions, and insecurity have existed for decades. So while Obasanjo may criticize Tinubu today, some people will still hold former leaders responsible for laying foundations of the current problems. And this is why Nigerian politics remains very complicated. Because every administration inherits problems from previous governments while also creating new challenges of its own. But regardless of political differences, one thing is undeniable. Nigerians are suffering economically. The cost of living is extremely high. The naira has lost significant value. Businesses are shutting down. Youth unemployment remains alarming. And frustration among citizens is increasing daily. This is why comments from influential figures like Obasanjo attract national attention. Many Nigerians are searching for hope. People want solutions, not just political arguments. And this is perhaps the biggest challenge facing the Tinubu administration today, convincing Nigerians that the hardship they are experiencing will eventually produce positive results. The government insists that reforms take time. Officials argue that the economy was already damaged before Tinubu came into office and that difficult decisions were necessary to prevent total collapse. But the problem is this: Nigerians are impatient because hunger does not wait. A father struggling to feed his children today may not care about economic theories promising future benefits. A market woman watching food prices rise every week wants immediate relief. A graduate without a job wants opportunities now, not years later. And this is why the pressure on the current government continues to increase daily. Now, politically speaking, Obasanjo's criticism is also significant because of his influence in Nigerian politics. Even though he is no longer in office, his words still carry weight both locally and internationally. Whenever Obasanjo speaks, politicians listen carefully. Supporters of the opposition will likely use his comments to attack the Tinubu administration further, while APC supporters may dismiss his criticism as politically motivated. That is how Nigerian politics works. But beyond party loyalty, the bigger question remains: how can Nigeria genuinely recover economically? How can government policies reduce suffering instead of increasing hardship? How can leaders restore public confidence? And most importantly, when will ordinary Nigerians begin to feel real improvement in their daily lives? These are the questions many citizens are asking right now. And honestly, Nigerians deserve answers. At the end of the day, political speeches alone will not solve hunger. Citizens want visible improvements in electricity, fuel prices, food affordability, security, and employment opportunities. That is what truly matters. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you. After listening to Obasanjo's interview and this analysis, what is your own opinion? Do you believe Tinubu's economic policies will eventually work? Or do you think the government needs to change direction immediately? And do you agree with Obasanjo that the economy was better managed during his tenure? Drop your honest opinion in the comment section. If you enjoyed this analysis, kindly like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with others so more Nigerians can join the conversation. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again in the next political update.